Hi everyone, my name is Tara Mustikani Palutri and I'm from Universitas Negeri Jakarta. I'm going to present my paper entitled Needs Analysis on English Learning Material for Critical Literacy course. So the background of this study is that the preparations for the students to have the ability to interpret the text by using the critical lens, challenge the power relation within the messages and communicate actively in the context. So there is a need and urgency in the hybrid learning process to take place. And this research is a part of multi-year research and development which aim to develop digital models and learning management system for the students. This is based on the ideas on critical thinking, in that critical thinking approach and digital literacy are important issues that supported by higher order thinking skill. And this approach has replaced the learning model that only focuses on the ability to read and write, but then it is very important because students need to interact with more information media and filter on information so that they can choose useful information. We consider that language is a tool for conveying the ideas and information, so the classroom learning must also be equipped with the critical thinking skills and digital literacy that enable students to become critically literate. It's based on the PISA report from 2018, which is released on December the 3rd, 2019, which implied that a very significant decline in reading literacy for Indonesian students. It places Indonesia in the bottom list of 6 of the 78 participating countries. So, in 2019, the Ministry of Education and Cultures indicated most of the students had language literacy skill below the minimum competency. And we move to the topics, we move to the ideas of the 21st century skills, which there are so many interactive student-centered learning activities available and authentic material provide a meaningful experience in solving the problems. Moreover, students nowadays have to have a lot of exposure to the learning process so that they cannot only understand the lesson but can also produce the meaningful learning outcome. And based on the partnership for the 20% century skill, the students also require to have skills such as collaboration, communications, and critical thinking. Doing the needs analysis is important when you are going to develop learning materials. Best documents in 2010 argues that learning developers must be able to identify the needs of learners by conducting needs analysis. Thus, it can be determined that the priority skills and the materials needed by the learners are also broad and natural for defines needs analysis to define and validate the curriculum objective. And the ideas from Hutchinson and Water underline the context of this needs analysis, which divide needs analysis into two parts. They are target needs and the learning needs. In the target needs uh, are all the things that needs to be done by the learners in determining the learning needs. It can be divided into the needs or the necessities, difficulties, and the wants. We have explained these three uh, and the learning needs are all the things that need to be done by the learners to learn about and human define this including goals, inputs, procedure, arrangement, and roles of learners and teacher. We move to the ideas of e-learning itself. There are four types of e-learning according to Ismail in 2002, namely learning management system, learning content management system, learning design system, and learning support system. So the focus of this research is the learning management system, which is an e-learning system used by various universities around the world. And we can also say that it is a virtual learning environment or course management system. Why? Because this LMS offers new method in education and can facilitate the flexibilities for the institution. And the use of LMS itself has become a mandatory requirement in every university. In ONG itself, we have the learning page on onlinelearning.ong.ac and .id, which developed through the Moodle, which is the modular object-oriented dynamic learning environment, which is developed by Martin Doitiamas. Stanford in 2009 stated that Moodle was also commonly referred as the learning management system. They can both use as an online learning system. So the aims of my study is that it is a basic preliminary needs based on the research to map the students and lecturers needs on the critical literacy course in Prodi Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris Universitas Negeri Jakarta. We conducted the research from April to October 2021 with the 32 students and lecturers participate in this quantitative study. With the method, uh, we divided into the students' needs from the Hutchinson and Water theory and the learning needs, and the data collected by distributing the questionnaires to students and lecturers interview and conducting a focus group discussion. This research conducted in Jakarta with the participation of 32 students and lecturers from critical literacy course in Prodi Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris Universitas Negeri Jakarta. So the result itself is that the first thing is that there is a gap between the expected outcomes of the critical literacy course and the students' ability to understand various texts, especially in understanding the interpretations of the data in the forms of graphic, tables, and numbers. Yes, we do the analysis of bonds. In this analysis, we give the questionnaire to we give the questions in the focus group discussions about the students' desire for the critical literacy course materials. And the response is that the students want to get more learning activities regarding technology literacy, media literacy, and data literacy. And the students also want the materials on how to cultivate critical thinking and how to make precise articles from the reputable journal article. They also want the materials for making critical literacy for young learners and in terms of social media. What about the target dates of the analysis of difficulties? Um, we found that the students still have difficulties to communicate their ideas and they are afraid that the ideas is not a critical, coherent, and precise idea in terms of the word choice. Some students also find it difficult when the data is presented in the forms of chart tables and interpret the data in forms of paragraph in English because it requires special terminology to interpret the data. These are the quotations from the focus group discussions about the target needs and the analysis of difficulties by the students. And what about the preferred activities in critical literacy courses? I asked the students about the preferred activity in the critical literacy courses, and the answers are varied, including debates, discussion, criticizing social campaign, advertisement, and short films. And I also put this as a quotation from the students' focus group discussion. What are the students' expectations? They want to become a person who masters the 21st century skills. They want to be more critical and objective in expressing the opinion and seeing things and point of view, and they want to be more critical in processing any information. So I also asked the students about the advantages in the critical literacy courses itself. They stated that the lectures carry out according to schedules and in class discussions, all opinions are accepted and appreciated. And the students also like the forms of class on the virtual synchronous meetings to discuss the current issues. What are the advantages? I put the quotation from the students. The weaknesses in the critical literacy courses is that the students think that the material was a lot and some were repeated. So there are too many kinds of literacy discussed in, but not in depth of the discussion. And some of students also argue that there is a lot of time to discuss the of face-to-face online discussion for 4 hours make the eyes so tired. And these are the analysis of the learning needs. Um, for the learning needs, after this lecturers interview, and I'm asking the teachers course about the lacks, the wants, and the inputs from these critical analysis, critical literacy courses. So the input itself, it refers to the spoken, written, and visual data used by students in completing the assignments, which include the input dimension. The researchers provide two questions regarding the input about the theme and input about the materials to be taught in the course. And these are the materials discussed. The first one is Divine 21st Century Literacy and Critical Literacy, identifying information, and hooks and other related terms and strategies in developing critical literacy and critical literacy in practice. So the procedure itself, the lecturers agree that the students need to have a discussion, debate, project, and case study. And what about the result of this study is that we can conclude that the student rarely encounter difficulties in assessing online learning, and the students also lack the forms of class discussion in virtual synchronous meeting to discuss the current issues. But then our students also like that they get clear and credible references in the materials. So the students suggest to add more activities in delivering the material that is topic and the material that match the interests of the students. While they also have difficulties experienced by lectures when teaching is that the students' language skill itself, especially for the reading skill, which are very varied. And based on the data, the lecturers and the students want critical literacy material that is able to make students think critically with the topic related to critical literacy, with the theory, strategy, and its practice. They also prefer to have activities in this course, including debate, discussion, criticizing social campaign, advertisement, and short films. So from the stages that have been carried out, the means of the results of the survey, the analysis of this interview and focus group discussion, we can conclude that first thing is that there is a gap between the expected outcomes of the critical literacy course and students' ability to understand the various texts, especially in understanding the interpretations of the data in forms of the graph, tables, and numbers. And students also needs a lot of exposure in terms of various texts, for example, news text, critical analysis of the text, and current issues from the social media. And based on the results of the analysis of needs analysis and the conditions of critical literacy, the critical literacy materials available in the study program, the researchers will develop a critical literacy module designed through the Google site, which consists of critical literacy syllabus and a teaching material websites for students and lecturers that can be accessed via Google Sites and which can be integrated into this LMS range. So then the syllabus model that will be developed is a mixed model by implementing the principles of project-based learning and case-based learning, and then the teaching material that will be developed in the second year of his research package in an online form as a whole fully online learning with the virtual synchronous learning and asynchronous learning method. And the assessment principle applied is authentic assessment. The learning method used is the inquiry learning with the following cycle: exploration, gathering information, asking, association, and communication. So that's all my presentation. Thank you. Have a nice day.